story with many different guys with many different agendas, and most importantly, I think, is the characters. I think crazy characters are the foundation for a Grand Theft Auto game. I mean, that's the thing I remember most about any Grand Theft Auto game is the characters. Okay, so after Grand Theft Auto 4, I remember there were two episodes for it released. One was called episodes of Liberty City, The Lost and the Damned, and that had a biker gang, and you were up against this rival gang called Deadbeats. Now, it was interesting because my friend who was talking about bikers, and we have a couple of local bike gangs around Canberra and in Sydney. They're called the Hells Angels, and recently someone actually murdered this guy, this biker, I think in his backyard with a shotgun or something. And this 22-year-old male got charged with the murder, and he was a member of the bikers gang. I remember going to work in my office, and then I look out the window and I see this huge, really long parade of bikers following this coffin as it went to a nearby funeral, which was for this guy who got shot. So with that sort of in my head at the time, it was interesting to again explore a different subculture of society, and this time it was the bikers. And again, the soundtrack really did add a nice garnish to, again, was another stereotypical, not that that's a bad thing, Grand Theft Auto game. You had very aggressive, understandably so, biker characters. You had a biker who was recently released out of jail, only to have conflict with this. I can't remember the relationship to him, but there's all this power struggle as to who should be the leader of I can't remember the name of the biker gang. And I liked how you have to ride in this formation, and if you stand in the circle, you get I think added health bonus or some protection or something like this. Nevertheless, it was really fun to go into a different mode, as it were, and listen to all this heavy rock / alternative music whilst riding around on a bicycle. Again, encouraging a different form of vehicles, even though sometimes my friend is borrowing it now and he sometimes finds himself in a car, which sort of defeats the purpose of the biker game. Nevertheless, the second episode released along with this was The Ballad of Gay Tony. Now, again, you're exploring something which may have been touched upon in previous Grand Theft Auto games, except this time you're sort of focusing in on the nightclub scene. You play a bouncer of Gay Tony and his dealings with various factions and influences and connections which help him with his nightclub industry and the nightclub that he owns. Once again, very outlandish, very flamboyant, very funny characters. I guess you feel cool being this bouncer guy, just doing all this crazy stuff, trying to be in damage control for this very crazy, drug-loving nightclub owner. Now, I haven't finished that yet because my friend is borrowing the disc, so I can't really comment on how this story ends. Because before I could finish The Ballad of Gay Tony, all these other games came out and I got distracted. And one of the games that came out which I got distracted with is the latest game in the Grand Theft Auto series, and that is Red Dead Redemption. Now, it's not a classical, exactly like the Grand Theft Auto series, but the flavor is still there. Now, I mean this by music, by characters, and by this whole sandbox world that you can go wherever you want within reason and do whatever you please. Now, Red Dead Redemption, this is a sort of game that, if I really believed in what I call it, thinking of, I really wish something like this would come out, and then boom, it just comes out of nowhere. Have you ever had something like this? Well, for me, I was thinking, okay, I didn't even read any sort of news items or anything like that. I just thought to myself, okay, I think they've peaked the whole industrial setting of the Grand Theft Auto games. I thought to myself, what they really need to do is go back to a different time period in the past. Now, my initial idea was Grand Theft Auto sailors, and if I'm not mistaken, that may be where they are heading now. Well, at least I hope so. I always thought that going to old bars around sea towns and jumping pirate ships was an untapped story potential that the Rockstar developers could exploit. Nevertheless, when I went to a local store and I saw the traditional style of Grand Theft Auto art, and I saw this cowboy John Marsden pointing the gun at us, like in terms of the artwork, I thought to myself, wow, this is exactly what I wanted. I wanted something different from the Rockstar guys. I got a little bit sick in ways of always being around the same style of modern day city. And when I saw the trailer, for once I think the trailer was actually worse than what the game actually was. Now I got to say, this game, it probably falls, I don't know, maybe just outside my top 10. I got to get my definitive top 10 list out there, but just in case you haven't listened to my previous recordings, and this is going to fluctuate, I still need to solidify it. But number one is definitely, without a doubt, The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time for the Nintendo 64. Number two is definitely Shenmue 1 for the Dreamcast, and the rest of these games, I still got to confirm it. I'm not sure if they really deserve to be this high, but these games are somewhere in the vicinity of my top 10, maybe top 15. And they are Heavy Rain, Fahrenheit, Uncharted 2, Mass Effect 2, Mass Effect 1, Fallout 3, Max Payne 2, Red Dead Redemption, and that's about it off the top of my head. Perhaps I already mentioned Fallout 3. The rest of the games, they never really got to me that much, but I'm not, as I mentioned before, I'm not really a hardcore gamer, but if a game comes out that piques my attention, I'm gonna play it, and if it really beats his other games, then yeah, of course it deserves to go into my top 10. But back to Red Dead Redemption. There is something really, there's no other word for it. There's something really beautiful about this game that no other Grand Theft Auto games have touched yet, and I think it really comes coupled with the fact of the environment of which it is in, which is the end of the Wild West period. And in terms of story, and once again, as you know, what am I looking for in a game? Story, characters, and emotion. Now, story and characters are sort of prerequisites for a Grand Theft Auto game, as I just touched upon previously. But the actual story, characters, and emotions. Actual emotions playing Grand Theft Auto, it's more like adrenaline, more like laughter. But for this game, they're tapping into something else. Now, I don't want to spoil any of the story, but I will say that this game, and I posted this to my Facebook profile, this game really touched upon something that they haven't done before, and that was the use of music. Now what they did was, when you I wouldn't really consider this a spoiler. In the game, you eventually arrive to Mexico. Now when you arrive to Mexico, there is music that actually kicks in, and I thought to myself, well, there wasn't any music in any other part of the game, why are they kicking it in now? Yeah guys, so as I just mentioned, the music kicks in when you first get to Mexico, and you haven't really heard any music up until that point. And when you do hear that music, and you realize, wow, this finally, Rockstar have taken a little bit of a risk. They understand it's a different type of game, even though it has elements of your Grand Theft Auto games in there, and they put it at a perfect moment in the game. Sort of about midway through the game, and as you're riding around Mexico, around the cliffs, looking at the beautiful water views down below with that music in the background, that moment was epic. And epic moments in games are few and far between, but that was definitely one of them. And apart from that, I can't really say much else about Red Dead Redemption without spoiling it, and it's not a game to be spoiled. But it is, definitely a very beautiful game. It is very different to any other Grand Theft Auto game out there, and it has the story and characters that you actually care about. I mean, you care about John Marsden a lot. You